It is easy to get lost in the big picture of human rights abuses. Bringing people's personal stories to the front of your info activism is one way to make sure that people's experiences are not ignored.
We use personal stories in our information activism because as a feminist organization, the personal is political. And for us, they really demonstrate the real-life application of human rights and women's rights. An example where we've used digital stories in our work is in a training with two groups of women. One group of women were survivors of sexual assault because of their sexual orientation, and another group of women who had survived domestic violence. We put these stories together on a DVD, and we distributed these DVDs along with a book that gave instructions on how to integrate the stories in a human rights education program. So the stories were really meant to provide alternative training materials to people who are trying to do change-making training. We hope that that will also contribute to the information that's out there, but assist in understanding, and also reduce violence against the groups that we are speaking about, and help inform policy that is really addressing the needs of people as they identify them. And this is a particular example of how a silenced community can take control over their own words and images and make something, not necessarily revealing their identities as well, but where they get to choose the voice, they get to choose the images, and they also have control over the actual equipment and the computers themselves.
Personal stories can be compiled and distributed in many different ways. Grassroots video making can capture people's experiences in a way that will bring about change.
We were working with a group in the Democratic Republic of the Congo where about 5 million people have died as a consequence of the conflict. And one of the biggest problems is the use of child soldiers. And so this group was trying to find a way to engage communities to think about why they let their children become child soldiers. And so they thought how to produce a video that would open a debate in their community. And so they showed it in communities all around the Eastern Congo to start a discussion. And I think that's really important because they thought not only about what the issue was, but they also thought about what their audience was, what their goal was, and what story they had to tell. And they were successful in starting to get people thinking about that. And then they realized their campaign had moved on, and so they needed a new tactic. And at that time, the International Criminal Court was starting to think about its first prosecutions. And so they said, well, how can we influence the criminal court to think about that? Completely different audience. And so they made a different video, which really brought the voices directly of those children who'd been forced into the military to show to senior officials at the criminal court. And they chose a different story. It wasn't an open story. It was much more of a directed story, saying to that audience, you need to act on this because this is a crime of war, a crime against humanity. So for me, that's really an illustration about how the power of personal experience at a local level, captured by people who are closest to it, can be used as a tactic to influence different audiences at different times to really achieve change.
Blogs are renowned for their ability to blur the lines between personal and public dialogue, which makes them an effective storytelling tool. The collaborative blog project Blank Noise allows people to support an ongoing discussion about sexual harassment in India.
They invite bloggers to talk about their experiences of, urban sexual harassment. But also they do it in a way where, like, in the year that I participated in, they asked us to talk about it as if we were superheroes. So it's a very interesting take on urban sexual harassment. It's not a report. It's not like a sob story, but kind of wittily put. So it's a great way of making things readable as well for a different audience. I think blogs are good tools for info activism because they lend themselves to storytelling. And blogs are very personal, so it becomes quite easy for individuals to put their perspectives out there. And it's very easy to use. It's like journaling. And it's a very accessible way of writing and also reading about issues. So the way most blogs work, for info activism and for advocacy is through blog communities. So blog communities center around a particular issue, and they usually have a time frame where they write around a particular issue.
Blogs Documentary videos and online stories are three ways that personal stories can be used to ensure that people's experiences reach different audiences and bring about social change.